They say it's what's on the inside that counts, and for almost no car is that truer than the Jaguar S-Type. A really decent car, ultimately scuppered by its divisive retro styling. But could Jaguar turn the S-Type's fortunes by giving it more power, sharper styling, and just a hint of menace? The S-Type R was the embodiment of that theory, and I'm going to take this one for a drive today to see what it's all about. But first, our friends at Lancaster Insurance are running monthly giveaways. You can win all sorts, from experience days to tools, restaurant vouchers and tech. So click the link below at the end of the video to enter their latest competition. You have to feel a bit sorry for the S-Type. Jaguar put their all into making a decent, credible BMW 5 Series challenging saloon car. The S-Type had a lovely ride and handling combination, a superbly luxurious Jaguar-styled interior, and a really decent build quality with some fantastic engines. But the styling let it down, and unfortunately first impressions do matter. It took its inspiration for its name from a 1960s car, which was hardly considered beautiful back in its day, and unfortunately when you translate some of those styling traits to a more modern body shell, which needs to have all kinds of crash structure built in, it doesn't really work. Those divisive looks meant the older generation, who the car might have appealed to, didn't like it, and the younger generation that Jaguar were trying to pitch it to didn't care much for the 60s inspired name and looks. But then Jaguar had a brainwave. They saw the success of performance variants of executive saloons, cars like the BMW M5 and the Mercedes E55. What if we do the same to the S-Type? Now, you can't change the basic shape of the car, but what they could do was refine it and revise it. So they adorned the S-Type with an all-new front bumper and rear bumper with more chiseled lines to it, a mesh radiator grille, new tinted headlights. Down the side we've got big side skirts, flared wheel arches and fat 18-inch wheels, and round the back a subtle boot spoiler, which all added up to create the Jaguar S-Type R. And for me, it's a triumph of styling improvement on the S-Type. The standard car's not much to write home about, but the R looks so much tighter and leaner and more chiseled. Looks incredibly purposeful, particularly in a sinister black like this car. But it needed the go to match its newfound show, and Jaguar obliged, adorning the S-Type with its fantastic 4.2 litre AJ V8. They then threw a supercharger on it to give this mid-sized saloon car 400 brake horsepower. This in a car that's smaller and lighter than the XJR to make it the most powerful Jaguar saloon ever. Combine it with the lower body weight of the S-Type, and that meant this car would do 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds. And let me tell you, by anyone's standards, this thing is quick. Whoa! God, that is incredible! I haven't put my foot down hard in this car yet. This thing flies. Whoa! It's a real muscular power too. There's no turbo lag, there's no delay. Put your foot down and it pins you in the seat with this surge of power, and that supercharger whine. It just sounds absolutely incredible. That alone would get your attention. But power is nothing without control, and thankfully the S-Type R had plenty of that too. It was adorned with their CAT active suspension, computer-controlled dampers that adjust how firm they are up to 100 times a second, depending on the road conditions and how aggressively you're driving. Chuck the S-Type R into a corner and it accounts for itself remarkably well. Clings on, doesn't roll around. It's tight and it's sharp and it feels on its toes and ready to go, exactly like a sports saloon should. Changes direction incredibly sharply and quickly for such a big, comfortable car. The steering in S-Type fashion has got a lovely weight to it as well. You've got a good idea of what the front wheels are doing, but it's not too light. You want some feel to it. But stop chasing M5s and the S-Type R settles down, becomes a Jaguar again, smooth, comfortable and refined. I can cruise along in comfort despite those big 18-inch wheels, and safe in the knowledge that this car will soak up any bumps the road throws at me, just like a proper Jaguar should. And when you do settle down, You notice the interior of the S-Type R as well. There were a few revisions made for the R, including this sort of carbon fibre effect dashboard plastic, a subtle bit of supercharged badging in the gauges, and these lovely R Sport leather seats, which are just a little bit more bolstered than on the standard car. They look the part and they feel the part too. They're comfortable and supportive. Again, perfect for a car of this type. What I love about the S-Type R though is its split personality. It can cruise along in comfort and relaxation just like a diesel S-Type can. But when a straight bit of road comes up, put your foot down. Whoa! And there ain't much this side of a Porsche that can hold it off. And it's cooler than an M5 in my eyes, because it's that bit more subtle and that bit more of a left field choice. So did it work then? Did the S-Type R make this car cool, and did it steal sales from BMW? Well, no. Your typical M5 buyer likes what they like, and generally they can't be coaxed out of it into another German car, let alone something like a Jaguar, and that showed in the sales figures. The S-Type R was cheaper and better equipped than a BMW E39 M5, and yet they sold just 8,000 of these cars. That's around half as many as BMW shifted M5s. But as a modern classic today, that makes the S-Type R arguably even more appealing. Because it is that much rarer and that much of a left field choice, a car that a lot of people have forgotten even existed, it gives it that real underdog factor. It's a proper Q car this, where you only know if you know. And that means they're a bit of a bargain as well. If you want a good example of an E39 BMW M5, these days you're paying about £15,000. If you want a good example of an S-Type R though, you can pay as little as half that. Less if you don't mind a bit of mileage. It really is a super saloon bargain that looks great, certainly in my opinion, gives you this gorgeous luxurious interior, a lovely ride, superb handling dynamics, and that epic supercharged V8 performance for £6,000 or £7,000. You want my advice? Jump on the Jaguar S-Type R, but keep quiet about it, yeah? Don't let the cat out of the bag. This video is proudly sponsored by Lancaster Insurance. Give them a call on 01480 400 889 for an insurance quote on your classic car. And don't forget to click the link below to enter their latest competition.